may not realize it in our industrialized society, but the herbal healing tradition is alive and well and used by most of the world. Europe, Africa, Asia, Eurasia, Australia, South and Central America. In fact, the World Health Organization estimates that up to 80% of the world's population still uses herbs as their primary form of health care. I myself saw the popularity of herbal healing on a recent trip to China. I went into pharmacies where there was not a single chemical drug. The Chinese people simply don't believe in them, and they said so. Americans are getting back to the future pretty quickly, though, in their use of herbs. Since 1994, the sales of herbal products have increased by over 100%. Experts estimate that in the next 5 years, up to 96% of the American population will be using herbal remedies for at least part of their health care, even in the medical profession. Clearly, Americans are willing to take more responsibility for their health and that of their families. Still, many questions need answers, like what are the differences between conventional medicine and herbal healing? Sometimes I see myself as a bridge between the conventional medicine world and the traditional or herbal healing world. I believe Americans should have access to both types of healing. But there are differences. I call conventional medicine heroic medicine because it was largely developed during wartime to handle the emergency measures that healthy young men faced. It's essentially a patching up system, but it doesn't work very well for chronic degenerative diseases like heart disease. And that's because drugs and surgery stand outside the body processes. They don't support or nourish your body. I believe conventional medicine is at its best in emergency measures for acute symptoms. We need to expand our horizons about health care. Let's take antibiotics, for example. An antibiotic drug works to overpower an invading organism. It works to allow your body to stabilize, your own immune response to come into play, to handle the invader. An herbal antibiotic works exactly the opposite. It cleanses and flushes immune system organs like the lymph glands to deal with the invader. Echinacea, a popular herb today with antibiotic properties, works just like that. It cleanses congestion from your lymph glands so that your body processes those poisons out itself. Herbal healing is at its best when it's working with your body to cleanse, balance, and normalize. You take herbs differently than you take drugs, too. For the most part, you need to take more and more of a drug to get the same effect. But this can be a problem. Antibiotics, for instance, may become less effective no matter how much you take. With herbs, you might want to take a larger dose at the beginning of your program, then reduce your dose as you start to improve, asking your body to pick up more and more of its own work. The result is preventive medicine with more permanent healing. Here's some good news. Herbs are never one plant for one problem. Science is validating herbal medicine by leaps and bounds. There's an amazing amount of research, a wealth of new studies about herbs. You know, I sometimes hear people say that herbs haven't been tested in valid clinical tests. Don't you believe it? Herbs are some of the most studied medicinals for the last several decades. Is this testing valid? You bet it is. I did some of these tests in nonprofit labs myself. I can vouch for unbiased, fair tests that were groundbreaking, even dramatic. Herbs in their whole form are the only medicine I know of that can treat the whole person, you. Some herbs only work in their whole form. When we change the natural balance of the plant, we lose many of its protective benefits, and we set up the risk for side effects. I believe only the whole herb can offer the whole benefit. Nature is a wonderful pharmacy. Herbs are so complex that each herb is almost a micro-pharmacy within itself. Man and herbs have developed together throughout the time continuum. We've both learned to adapt to survive. Did you know that some herbs even change their chemistry in order to ward off a hostile environment, like car exhaust or pesticides? You know, herbs have been healing people for thousands of years. So when you stop to think about it, herbs and nutrition aren't the alternative healing system. Drugs are the alternative system. But I never say throw away your doctor's phone number. I think we need all kinds of choices for our healing. But for everyday, non-emergency healing needs, maybe you don't need to go any further than your herb garden or your spice rack. I believe it's time to return to herbs and Mother Nature, complex medicines for complex needs during complex times. Thank heavens herbs have finally regained their place in healing.